This will be an interactive session. That means that you can ask questions. If it's applicable, you can do that during the session just by using the Q&A window. Also, at the end of the presentation, we will plan some time as well to answer all your questions. Now, today, I am very happy that I don't have to do the presentation all alone by myself, but I am lucky that I have an expert in this matter, I must say. So I have Luc Borremans, who is category manager at HPE, that is joining me. So we will do a co-presentation. Maybe Luc, one, can you hear me? And maybe a quick introduction to everyone from your side as well.
Yes, Luc Borremans. I can hear you very clear and clearly. So I'm working at HPE already more than 20 years. Did pre-sales for years, creating all kinds of storage solutions and also end-to-end solutions. And now since a few months, I'm a category manager at HPE.
Fantastic, great. So thanks for joining us, and yeah, telling more interesting news about that the HCI solution, because I still see today that we get a lot of questions about first of all IT, where are we going to? What about the cloud? Because everyone loves the cloud experience. You have hyper-converged, now you have DHCI, which is also hyper-converged, but then that disaggregated. What are the unique features? And so for me, it's clear, but I noticed that there are too many still open questions, which we're gonna try. So this is a new presentation that we created together, which I think honestly, which is quite good, that I'm going to use as well from now on towards my customers, being the HPE partners, of course, to support all those HPE partners out there, because I think that the story is really good to show that flexibility, that scalability, because that's finally the reason why there is a DHI. And so we're going to dive deeper in that. So if we're going to take a look at the agenda today, so there will be an overview about the HCI. We will go quite deep from both sides, not only technical, but also on the workload overview. There's a competitive section, of course, because we're going to take a look at what's outside there in the market. And then at the end, we plan some demo time as well, or how you can get experience, because a demo is a demo. No, we're going to give you the experience so that you can learn about DHI. So at the end, there is some additional resources that we're gonna share with you as well. Now, first of all, quick overview. I'm going to get started with that. So what is DHCI with Nimble storage? Now, more than 10 years ago, there was already, I must say, converged, hyper-converged, composability. It all started 15 years ago with polymorphic simplicity. Where do they find it? Nevertheless, it's marketing, but there is indeed a need on the market, and all the vendors, and HP for sure is looking for solutions to support all those needs. And at it's more than 10 years ago, we saw indeed, and the product still exists today. So there's still an HPE converged system out there for those specific needs. When you have that converged need, it's all about efficiency. It is about performance. It is about scalability. So what was it? Instead of buying components, you were buying a solution. It was a rack with servers, with storage, and with software, giving you one experience, giving you great performance, giving you the scalability. You can add compute, you can add storage with that software layer on top of it. So like I said, it is still there, but meanwhile, we saw indeed that they needed more agility and more simplicity. Okay, it was simple, it was agile, but the market needed more. And this is why the last years, indeed, we see more and more hyperconvergence. Today, I think in my pre-sales role that I think 80% of my time is about hyperconvergence. And then the remaining 20% is somewhere in, let's say the not hyperconverged, more traditional IT or more cloudy things, right? So What's then the differentiator with hyperconvergence? Well, with hyperconvergence, it's talking about nodes. And when we take a look at SimpliVity, for instance, we have nodes. You start with 2. We have that agility, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To deploy it, it's just a click. And it's there also for the operations, one user interface, really cool. We can show definitely that the OPEX, the operational expenses, that they will be lower. It's easy to use, easy to manage, easy to install, easy to upgrade. So hyperconvergence is definitely looking at that simplicity and at that agility. Now, of course, there again, we see also there's some kind of a trade-off because, yeah, there is efficiency, but definitely about that scaling and that flexibility. It is scalable, it is flexible. You can add compute nodes, you can add hyper-converged nodes in that cluster, but you will see we have a practical example later on in an animated slide that there is indeed some limitation when we're going to talk about true scalability and flexibility. It's not only about the products, but also with the workloads that you're going to run on it. Okay, for those customers who are running virtualization, they just need 10, 20, 30 VMs. They are okay. It will work perfectly, a hyperconvergent solution. But at the other side, what if they want Oracle on there and SQL and SAP HANA and maybe containers, and they have third-party servers and they want to connect them as compute nodes. They really want the big picture. They want and the agility and the simplicity, but the scaling and the flexibility. Well, that's the whole idea, where DHCI will be an answer. Okay, because there is not that performance penalty. We're not saying that hyperconvergence is slow, it is fast, but you will see for some workloads, customers will say, hey, I want that lowest latency guarantee. I want a high, I don't want to make a trade-off between or this or that. I want a platform that is ready for the upcoming years. I don't want to have the performance penalty. I also don't want to have that impact when I need more data that I need to buy CPU or compute power, or when I want more compute power that I need to buy storage, because hyperconvergence, it's an appliance, it's compute and storage at the same time. I don't want to have that link between the two. I want to make a decision. When I want storage, I buy storage. When I want compute, I want to compute. When I want both, well, no problem. So you don't want those wasted resources. You don't want to get stuck in that linear fixed scaling. And so this is where HPE, when was it? More 2-3 years ago, with Nimble, because you will see that Nimble is a fantastic platform for this disaggregated HCI architecture. So that's the whole idea. So what if you could have it all? So we're going to dive deeper in all these aspects. We're going to talk about that multi-dimensional scalability. We're going to talk about the life cycle management on the long term, about upgrades on the long run. What about all those application integrations? You don't have to think about which workload that you want to run, because all workloads can run on there, and you can provide that business critical performance, that low latency, high availability performance with, of course, the full stack intelligence. Because of course, yeah, InfoSight is there, of course. So you have that complete stack, visibility, intelligence, all the recommendations of InfoSight. We have another webinar for that. The recording is available. And we will keep on using that message, because InfoSight is honestly, for me, one of the biggest challengers when we're going to talk about the competition as well, where we can win deals against the others as well. And so this is where DHI comes into play. So what do we see here? We see indeed that Nimble array. We have a set of 2 or more compute servers. Initially, it was just DL380. You will see today that there's a much more models available as well for all the workloads that you can expect. It is simple to install, to maintain, to deploy. We have the full scalability in multi-dimensions, independent scalability between compute and storage. And of course, thanks to Nimble, we have that absolute resiliency. We have those 6 nines of availability as well. And this is why, for instance, VMworld last year, 2020, so the last version of edition of VMworld, HP is quite proud of that. So that Nimble Storage DHI was there, the best of VMworlds for virtualization and cloud platform, which means a lot, of course. Okay, and this is why we're gonna dive deeper in the architecture of what makes a Nimble DHI solution. Look, tell me, what do I need to know about those architectural principles of Nimble DHI?
Okay, so as you already mentioned, Bart, we have today you have the hyperconverged solutions, you have your converged solutions, and we want to combine them all. And actually what we did is, okay, you have your converged solution, but let's move also in the architectural, the principles or the easy principles that you are having in a hyperconverged solution. So, and then it all counts around simplicity. We want to make your operations, the way you're operating this one, it needs to be simple. Starting from your deployment, going over to your management, so where you actually will manage your full stack directly in the vCenter. Also, when you are scaling, there out of your vCenter, you say, okay, I want to add compute nodes, I want to add storage, and automatically he is going to do all of this for you. Yeah. Like you mentioned, InfoSight, support InfoSight, end-to-end stack visibility. What are we doing? If you have a VM that is going in a bit slow, more latency, from where is this coming? Do we have some noisy factors coming from somewhere else? All of that will be you will see in our InfoSight. Also, the protection and the multi-cloud is important. So the protection all calls is about your copy data management. Yeah. So as we are working with Nimble, we have a recovery manager central where you can do application aware snapshotting. And you will see later on that we can also doing, for example, DRP from your on-premise to the cloud, independent if it's Azure or Google or Amazon. And then the last part, and I think that's even maybe the most important one when you're going to see in a classic situation where you have your compute and your storage and your VMware version 6.5 or 6.7.7, doesn't matter, is actually which firmwares are supported with which version from VMware. That's where we are creating a full stack certified, and we are even making that simple to upgrade. It will be a one-button upgrade where you are doing your full upgrade. But I thought more about that later on.
Fantastic. Looks good.
So if we then see demanding applications, what are demanding applications? And that's what Bart already told is you have your Oracle, you have RZP. They are, for example, asking very low latency. How can we achieve that? If we go to see that one in a hyperconverged solution, you need to have multiple copies of your data. This one will be done over the network, which is sometimes is quite slow. Solving the Nimble all-flash array, you can go to 200 microseconds latency, which is very fast. And then you have, of course, all the other one that I already did a bit in our simplification story. It's fault tolerant. We have the 6 nines. You have your data protection built in with RMC so that we can do application consistent backup for SQL, for Oracle on VM level. And then at the end, encryption. More and more getting important today. How can I encrypt my data? Encryption, because we are Nimble, we can do volume-based encryption. This volume needs to be encrypted, this not. So you have all the features that you have on Nimble available in your DHI solution. On scalability, and let's come back to that one because it's an important one. So, and I will use my pointer. That will be even, yeah. I can't get my pointer on. Okay, not important. So if you see the green line, yeah. So actually, a hyperconverged solution is the perfect match if your storage and your compute is scaling. linear. So you need more storage. That also means that you need to have more compute. Yeah, perfect. But this is not real world. We see frequently that you don't, for example, don't need more compute, but you need more storage. And that's exactly where the HCI is playing in. If you need more storage in the HCI solution, but not compute, we are adding storage to our Nimble array. Also the way around, you need more compute power, but no more storage. We just add additional compute nodes, but not adding storage. And that's the way how you can install what you need, and you have no over provisioning. And important, we have integrated all the scripting to add your compute nodes, for example, automatically. He will do the discovery, we run script so that he is installing the VMware part, and he is automatically integrating that in your vCenter.
Well, I can add to that. This is indeed one of these slides that I use towards the HPE partners that I'm talking with at any level, from really small to really big, because I think this solution can be used really in the smaller up to the really enterprise environments. And I get often that question about when to use SimpliVity, when DHEI, because it looks like HPE has competing products, and I don't agree with that. So this green line in between, as long as you are really on that green line, you have more VMs, you need more compute, you need more storage. So you have that typical virtualized environment, and you stay on that green line, then I think up to a certain level here at the bottom left on that green line, I think that SimpliVity is indeed a perfect fit. But as soon as you go too high, when the number of terabytes are really getting too high, or the compute gets too high, or you get indeed more storage than compute, or more compute than storage, well, at that moment, as soon as you go out of that green line to the up or down, left or right, at that moment, I agree, at that moment it's DHI that comes into play. I confirm that. So I see this today in real life. So this is not a competitor of SimpliVity, not at all. It's just a nice addition in the portfolio to the specific needs of a customer, because not everyone is indeed across that nice green line of computer storage needs. Mm-hmm.
Maybe something else that I even forgot on this slide is you see over there the cloud storage and the public cloud. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And this is typically something we are not selling that, not talking about it, but we have a lot of customers where they have only one data center, for example, yeah? And they need to have a DRP. How are we going to do that? And then maybe a public cloud can be the perfect solution. You need to know from Nimble Array, we have our cloud volumes block. Yeah? We can natively doing asynchronous replication to cloud volumes block. And these volumes we can then connect to or an Amazon or an Azure cloud. And this way you can create solutions where you say, okay, Mr. Customer, you're running everything on-premise, but your DRP, we are not going to do that on-premise. We are replicating your data to the cloud volumes block. You don't start anything in Amazon or Azure yet, but at the moment we need to do a failover, you start up your VMs in Azure, for example, and you are connecting this one to your cloud volumes block. And
Mm-hmm.
the good news is when suppose you are running there because you was in the DRP phase, you have data, you have different data, you have changed your data on our storage in the cloud. You need to get back this on premise. If you do that on a real, for example, Azure storage, you would pay a lot of egress cost. In this solution, you don't pay egress cost at all. So moving from on-premise to cloud volumes block or from cloud volumes block to on-premise, you don't have any egress cost. So it's also on that level very cost efficient.
Well, that's really by coincidence, but I can say that a lot of you know that I have a Nimble array in the in my home lab, aka data center, in my garage, and so I am playing at this moment. I am testing cloud volume. So I have, and I'm gonna make videos, and there will be also a webinar about this really soon. It will be scheduled, but nevertheless, so I'm testing at this moment. I have a volume with VMs on there, and it is indeed oh so easy to get that copy in the public cloud. And when it's in the public cloud, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. It's so easy. It is built in. You don't need additional stuff. So stay posted on that, because yes, we're gonna dive deeper in that one as well in other session and other videos that we're gonna share with you.
And the good thing is you don't have a cloud vendor lock-in, because you can easily
Yes.
swap, for example, from Azure to Amazon, which is the biggest issue when you're going to get to cloud.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's you getting your data in is easy, getting it out is a bit more difficult.
Yeah, 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 correct.
And this is a slide all about about the word disaggregated. Yeah, because what actually does it means is that we are going to split again the compute and the storage part. So you see, you can start small. You can start with a Nimble array, and you're having only 2 compute nodes. That's the minimum configuration. Yeah. When you need to have more compute, we are just adding more compute nodes. Up to today, it's supported up to 32. Yeah. This one, maximum scalability on compute, but you need more storage. First of all, what we're going to do, or you need more IOPS, we are adding more capacity. Yeah. Or we can also do with Nimble, the online capacity, the online controller upgrade, so that you go to a higher model. Yeah. This is still not enough. We can even go further, because we can create a cluster of 4 Nimble arrays as being 1 Nimble. Yeah, this capacity, and then the next one is we are adding more. So we are creating actually the scale out solution with our Nimble and creating a pool of 4 Nimbles. So you see, you have the full, let's say, the full scalability and the full flexibility on scaling, independent if you need compute, storage, or performance. We can do whatever you want and what your customer wants to do. Some word about how are we doing that. So things that are important is, first of all, it's all based on HPE ProLiant systems from compute. Yeah. The good news is you don't need to buy new systems. If you have already today DL systems generation 9 or 10, we can reuse them in the HCI solution. The only thing we need to do, there need to be an HPE version of VMware installed on that one. Yeah. Next step is you have the full set of softwares we are creating for you that you get. Yeah? And it means from a deployment, but also from an upgrade and an initial installation. And this is to make all of you easy. The next one is, okay, it's intelligent. So we have the full stack operations. So like you know today from Nimble, but we also integrated everything about our compute nodes already in InfoSight. But the good thing is we will see it over here as being one solution. So if you go to InfoSight, you see the full stack in one screen, both your compute and your storage. And also from a support point of view, we are not making a difference if it's a DL problem or a VMware problem or a Nimble problem. You automatically are coming directly to level 3 of your Nimble support, like we are doing for Nimble. Yeah, I think this is already, we mentioned already, your enterprise cloud data protection. You have the cloud volumes. We have 2 versions of it. We have our cloud volumes backup and we have cloud volumes block. Block is really made to put your production data on and getting low latency production in the cloud. The backup is you can do natively backup, for example, with RMC software from your on-premise storage to our backup environment that we are running in the cloud.
Now, a very important there is indeed, you mentioned that those egress
Yeah.
costs, okay, that you don't have there, because we have practical examples. People really, or customers really underestimate the cost of the cloud finally. I see numbers, really cheap numbers of how much was it, 1 or 2 cents per gigabyte. in the cloud, but that's just the capacity. But then when you're going to use that capacity, yeah, cost can go really high. And that's the biggest advantage for me in HP Cloud Volumes, is that you don't have those egress costs in there, and you don't have that cloud login. That's really a nice feature. And the coolest thing as well, that Cloud Volumes is now, yeah, of course, completely integrated with Nimble, but also in the, yeah, we're going to talk about Alletra as well in a minute, because probably you heard about the announcements, but also all the new products like Simplivity and Alletra also is all having those links with Cloud Volume. So it's not Nimble only, it's really a complete platform across the HPE portfolio. Yes.
Yeah, and to add on that one, before we go to that, we will see, but I don't think we have slides in that one. You know, the Alletra that we launched, but even more important, we also launched our unified data ops and our data storage cloud console. Yeah, I still need to learn the words, it's myself. So, and you will see there, you will not only moving the management of your Alletra and Nimble arrays to this data center cloud console, but also your cloud volumes backup and block will come in that one. So you will get one cloud console to manage all your storage array. Not all
Yeah.
today, but this is what's coming over time in the next months.
Well, that's why last week we had our first webinar already about the SCC Data Services Cloud Console and Alletra. But yeah, we will keep on repeating those storage update sessions, because yes, this is the way to go indeed, not only with the new hardware, but the most important thing for me, the most innovative thing is indeed that that cloud console as well. On the new platforms. Yes, for sure.
Okay, let's talk a bit about our upgrades and lifecycle. This is most of the time a pain point for customers. Yeah, which firmware do I need to run on my storage on my compute? Which support pack do I need to have, and how can I get it end-to-end supported? Yeah. So, and that's actually where DHCI is bringing you a solution. Yeah. So we are going to create you an overview or end-to-end supported solutions where we are going to say, okay, your Nimble OS is running this year. This is your virtualization software, your VMware version. This is your server firmware, your BIOS, and then we have also the ProLiant support packs. Yeah. So, and this is an end-to-end supported stack. And we are going to deliver this as being one stack that have we certified. And also the upgrade process, it will be fully automated. So you have a process where you're starting first with your Nimble, doing your Nimble upgrade, and then we are going to upgrade server by server. He's going to put the first server in maintenance mode, doing all the upgrades, putting out of maintenance mode, going to the second one, and you just don't need to do anything else than clicking the button, start my upgrade.
That's really a very a keen message as well. That I use often the experience of a smartphone. Yeah, so with a smartphone, to do a smartphone update, let it be iOS or let it be Android, you don't have to worry about everything that's underlying. It's just indeed that one-click upgrade. And so this is what you're going to do as well with that lifecycle management, right?
Yeah, correct. That's fully correct. So
Mm-hmm.
the only difference is that you still need to click a button, while on your iPhone you don't need to click it. He's doing it overnight for you.
So at least you have control. That's maybe
Yeah,
a good thing as well, that you still have control on there. Yes.
yeah, yeah. You're one too far already. So, but can you go one back?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
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 there you
yeah,
go.
no problem. So, and how are we going to make this one? Because even that's also, and this is coming out of InfoSight, we want to do this on an intelligent way. So that actually means you have your vCenter, yeah, and we are getting the information in our InfoSight. And based on the EI that we know, we are going to say, okay, this is a certified software, this is a first certified stack for you, and this you don't need to do because, for example, we have this HPE installed, and that we know that there's a problem in. Yeah. And there we are going to make the intelligence of what we know from our full installed base, and based on that, we are going to give you recommendations, and we are going to deny or allow certain firmwares for you specific. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will see this one. Out of your info site, you see I have my catalog 2, 3, 4. 2 and 4 you can do. But for example, version 3 in this case, it's denied because we know if you install this, you have a risk to have a certain problem issue later on. And then you will get it, and it's your DHCI stack manager that's going to check that one. His info site is coming back, and then you're going to do the upgrade, actually.
And so that is happening for and storage and compute, everything that is in that complete stack. How easy can it be made, of course? Yes.
Yeah, that's the goal, eh? Make it easy.
Yeah. So tell me, can you tell me something about the building blocks? So what's in
Sure.
a DHCI solution?
Yeah, no problem. So let's go a bit over timing because it's evolving and it's still evolving. Yeah? So you see in the first release that we had, there was a version 5.1, we were limited to Intel CPUs, yeah, generation 9 or 10. There was also scalability 20 hosts, but I think this is important. And as mainly the intelligence, the updates was mainly coming from a setup and a stack manager. Yeah. We didn't have yet the intelligent upgrades. That was not available at that moment. That came in the next release, where you see, okay, we included VMware version 7 because you need to involve on that one. We also included the intelligent upgrades. That actually mean the one button upgrade. And then at that moment, you also had the choice between do I want to have Intel or AMD CPUs. And on that level, you have the full flexibility. What do I want to have in my system? There are few rules on boot disks and on certain NICs, but the amount of memory you put in, nothing is predefined. You do what you want. Okay, and then you have further the full evolution. We went to 25 gig Ethernet. We created some BTO compute nodes. These are actually what we see. These are pre-boot nodes that are frequently coming. And also, yeah, here it was mainly, we have also adding at that moment a ProLiant SPP pack in the one button upgrade. Before it was only the VMware and the Nimble versions. And then the one that we released this month is actually, we are also making the DHCI solution available for Alletra 6000. And we are now also integrating some network automation in our DHCI solution. So even to, because in the past it was up to version 5.3, it was the compute and the storage. Now we are also integrating the network part so that we really have the end-to-end stack.
That is oh so cool, because that's always a challenge, those network settings and those contacting those network guys to get everything configured. So
Yeah,
cool.
that's the goal. Eh? We do the full data center at that moment. Yeah?
Yeah.
So how are we building that one? And this is for a greenfield. Yeah, we have a greenfield and a brownfield. We'll explain more on what it's later on. We have some validated network switches, which can be or the Aruba switches, or Flex Fabrics, or Mellanox switches. Yeah. Then you have, of course, the softwares. That is actually the VMware vCenter, and then you have the DHCI setup manager and upgrades, the stack, which is actually the intelligence we put in it one. Then you have the VMware versions 7, 6.7 or 6.5. Imported on that one, if you order a new compute node, a DHCI compute node, we are going to preload the VMware version in the factory. So you get them over there, you will scan your system, he will find it, and he will going to install VMware for you.
Yeah. That's maybe important to say. We didn't mention it yet, but DHCI today, I get some questions about it. Know that DHCI is indeed an iSCSI solution. Sometimes I get a
Yeah,
question, what
correct.
about fiber channel? Well, know that this is indeed an iSCSI solution. Nevertheless, most of the Nimble installations are iSCSI anyway. So it supports fiber channel, but iSCSI is here very popular. And so DHCI as well is indeed an iSCSI solution. Yes.
Yeah, correct. But we come later on that one because it doesn't mean that you cannot use fiber channel in a DHCI solution, but not for your
Aha.
DHCI stack. That's something else.
Okay,
DHCI is
very
flexible.
important.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Then on compute, full flexibility. You want Intel, AMD, and then the Gen 9, Gen 10, Gen 10 Plus, whatever you want. And then at the end, you have your Nimble Storage Gen 5 and your Alletra 6000.
Mm-hmm.
So both for the Gen 5, and for the new 6000, it's supported, and also for the Alletra 6000, it's only iSCSI based, the HCI solution.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe important one. Yeah, and then of course the info side, that's something you get always with a solution today with from HPE. And we don't have a slide on it, but it's important. If DHCI is coming for free, that doesn't mean your hardware, but if you buy a DHCI solution or you buy different your Nimble array and your compute separately, it will be the same price. So actually the intelligence is for free.
Very important message that indeed that software, you might think that it's more expensive, but indeed when we at Tech Data, when we build configurations with Nimble or Nimble DHI, indeed it's exactly the same price, only you get more software. You get the DHI software for free on top of it.
And what is important, it needs to be built as a DHCI in our systems, because there are some differences in the code we are running on the Nimble array. There are some differences on that one. And then we have two deployment paths. We have the greenfield and the brownfield. The greenfield is what we just explained. It actually means you're buying everything new. So you have new switches, new compute, new storage. But this is not always the case. So we can also go to brownfield customers that say, okay, I want to have reuse my existing switches, HPE, Aruba, or maybe Cisco. Yeah. Okay, we can integrate with the Cisco. The only requirement is that they need to be good enough for iSCSI traffic. Then also on the ProLiant systems, we can have new ones, but you can reintegrate your Gen 9 or Gen 10 ProLiant system that you still have installed on your premise. Only requirement is it needs to be an HPE image that you require. And of course, your Nimble array or your Alletra 6000, this is always a new one, because the DHCI software need to be loaded on your Nimble array. And that's done in the factory at the moment that we are building the system.
Okay.
So how does it work in practice? So we have the factory, we are having your compute, new systems. Today we are still running a 6.7, yeah, but we will move that later on to 7. And we are also preloading your connection manager on the compute nodes. You have your networking, you have your storage array. We are doing the transport to you. We are going to rack it and stack it, and then it starts your deployment. How is deployment working? Okay, you need to have done some preparations on networking. So which IP addresses are you going to use for all different networks? Yeah, and then we are going to run the DHCI setup wizard. There are some YouTube, videos on that one from on YouTube. But what we are actually doing, we are installing the Nimble array. Once that is done, he is going to start the setup of your vCenter or integrating in an existing vCenter. And then he is going to do the rollout of all your VMware, your compute nodes, all your VMware systems. And then you have the full stack automated and you can go in production.
By the way, those YouTube videos, how long does it take approximately to deploy everything through the software? Do we need days or weeks to have this installed?
No. The commercial stuff is telling you 15 minutes. Of course, it always depends on the size and stuff, but this is not, when you have prepared, everything is in your system, you know which IP addresses you want to use and your network is ready, you are set in less than 1 hour.
Yeah. Well, I can confirm that I did this in some labs already. And so for me, yeah, it took somewhere around an hour, but I was taking screenshots and I was documenting everything. But it's oh so easy. It is true that the hardest job that you're going to do that day is effectively racking and stacking it, getting it out of the boxes and putting it in a rack is really the heaviest job that you're going to do that day. I can confirm that. Because I did it already meanwhile. So that's oh so cool indeed. Yes.
So, and then you have the same for the brownfields, yeah, where you say, okay, the minimum you need is your new storage array with the DHCI system image on it. We are going to transport it. We are racking, stacking it. We are doing some on networking stuff. We are checking if the compute is conform what we need to have for a DHCI solution. And then you're again running the DHCI setup wizard. So the process is more or less the same. only there are some changes because we need to integrate existing network and existing compute. Now, and then we come to the problem that Bart already told. Most of the customers have a VMware environment, number of systems, 3, 4, 5 systems, but they still have somewhere running an Oracle system. And we all know Oracle. If it comes to Oracle, then you have always a question about what are we doing with licenses? Because if you are going to virtualize that, Oracle will tell you, Mr. Customer, you can run this on 4 systems. You need to pay license for 4 systems. So what we can do is we can, for example, we can install later on when our DHI stack setup is configured, we can add additional fiber channel HBAs in the same Nimble array. And then you have the Oracle rack cluster or Oracle system. We can provision out of the DHI solution volumes to these systems. They will not managed by the DHI management plane, let me call it like that, yeah. But you don't need to buy a separate storage array. And this is how you can easily work.
This is definitely something that you cannot do with a traditional hyper-converged solution for sure. I can confirm that, yes. So this is a very unique feature that I like a lot about that shows the scalability and the flexibility of that DHCI management plane. So that effectively you can mix even fiber channel and iSCSI, that you can connect those other workloads with even other vendor servers. Nobody's perfect, that you can use your existing DHCI environment for that.
Fully correct, Bert. And important to note, it doesn't need to be fiber channel if you want to connect something external. You can also use the iSCSI connections, of course, and add it to your iSCSI network.
Yeah.
Okay, then we know also Belgium. Belgium, we have typically a lot of peer persistence customers creating actually a site redundancy over 2 different sites. This is fully supported with Nimble Array. So what we're going to do, instead of 1 Nimble Array, or we are getting 2 of them, you have your redundant network switches, and then you are creating a stretch cluster for your VMware plane. Yeah. So on this way, with our DHCI solution, we have also our site redundancy, like you are doing in a classic setup. It's exactly the same, or the only thing that's changing is the management.
By the way, do I need additional license for this one?
No.
Sync replication? No.
All on both on our Nimble arrays as on our Letra, all these features are integrated with the array itself.
So just by DHCI and everything is included.
By DHCI, and everything is included. Correct.
Very strong. Very good.
This is one, and that's also an important one. We always thought, okay, DHCI is for VMware, and DHCI will always run with VMware. But we are also seeing the move that to the new applications, to the new, let me call it business owners, yeah, that is moving more and more to containers. So you get actually 2 kinds of workloads in the future that are important. You will keep the VMwares like we are doing today, but we see also a shift to container platforms. And the good news is we can support both of them. So we can support our containers and our VMs on the same nodes if you want. Yeah. Also what you see, and then on the top you see there you have the Anthos, for example, Google Anthos, where we even have certified configurations that we are having on-premise DHCI stack. We are integrating with our cloud volumes and the Google Cloud, fully managed by Google Anthos. So that on that way, you're creating your production on-premise, but you are doing your development, for example, in the cloud, and you have the data mobility between both of them.
Yeah.
And like you come back.
Yeah, and this is so true that I'm also working on this one. And it's indeed that CSI driver that is very important when you're talking about Kubernetes and Docker to integrate. It's indeed that CSI driver that is the key element there, which is available indeed for Nimble and also for most of the other HPE platforms. So that makes it possible that even there on scalability and flexibility, that we can run those multiple workloads on there as well.
Great. And this is a bit more explained about your DevOps and CI/CD pipeline. Yeah, what I'm going to run where. So you have, for example, you see you have your production, your test, and all this kind on. These are you running on premise. But for example, you can put part of it that you say, okay, for my example, my development, I only need it from time to time. Yeah, so that you are going to say, okay, this one I want to move to the cloud. So I don't want to invest in additional hardware on premise. But then by the use of our cloud volumes and the data mobility we have between our on-site and the cloud volumes, we can easily move temporary our data, our on-premise production data to cloud volumes during your development on that in the cloud and moving the data back afterwards. And that's the strong message that we have with the DHCI, that is, it's not, if you do it on-premise or integrating with cloud, it's all the same.
Again, full flexibility. You choose where is your data, you choose where you are running your applications, and it's just one experience. That's what I like indeed the most. You don't have to make a choice. There are no trade-offs. When I think about indeed the first slides when we started, is that indeed that you have to make trade-offs. You have to choose when choosing a platform. And here, this proves indeed that you don't have to make a choice, because everything is possible with, or almost everything is indeed possible with DHCI.
Yeah, correct. And that's actually the message why we built DHCI, how we built it, and where we are going to. It's all about our simplicity, our flexibility, and our actually performance scalability. Yeah. Fully flexible, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, of course, yeah, because this is one of the nice things that we know about Nimble as a platform indeed, is that if you need more capacity, you can add capacity really easily online without a performance impact during the business hours. If you want to upgrade the controllers, you need more performance. Yeah, even that you can upgrade online without any performance impact. You can go from the controller from a 20 to a 40 to a 60 to an 80, or now with Alletra, it's now 60, 10, 30, 50, 70 whatsoever. But that's a really strong message that you don't even have to do, you don't have to plan those upgrades, you don't have to plan migrations, because all this for any kind of workload, you can just do it. That's it.
Right.
That's the key message.
That's the key message.
Yeah. Very good. Now, when we take a look at competitive, because of course, when we're going to take a look at the market, yes, we have convergent solutions on the market. We have hyper-converged solutions on the market. What about DHCI? Because what I like at the other side is that indeed DHCI, which was something started by HPE 2 years, something like that, 2.5 years ago, something like that, that I said, I still remember my first opinion. What? DHCI disaggregated, what does that mean? Now, of course, when you dive deeper in the matter, then you understand. Now let's take a look at what are the others doing, because even Gartner today already is talking indeed about disaggregated infrastructure or disaggregated platforms as well. Now, of course, there is more information, and this is something that I say all the time to the HP partners out there. This is just a moment in time, because I know that also competitive, for instance, they are evaluating, evolving as well. Know that on HPE Seismic, Seismic and PS Now are the two main platforms where you can find almost any information. If you want a presentation, you want a data sheet, you want competitive information, you want collateral material, you want marketing information, a salesperson, a technical person, you can find all the information on Seismic. There are some links at the end of the presentation as well. And yes, we're going to share the presentation with you. And I say this as well in all the other webinars and presentations that I give, is that go there. It's even an application on your smartphone, Seismic. So know that the information is there. If you're not confident enough, know that we are there, and also the HPE team is there to help you to talk against. For instance, I have just took here some information about, let's take a look at Dell EMC VxRail. I'm not going to say that VxRail is bad. Not at all. They are also a leader in the market. They have a really good solution, but it's all about the details. Okay, so this is just to let you think about, they are good, but we are better, or they are scalable, we are more scalable. They have flexibility, we have definitely more flexibility. So it's all about those details, and it's these details that might help you to convince your customer. Mr. Customer, did you think about this? Right? Because I know the story as well from VxRail. They have a good story. So you have to go there with a more complete story. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, they're good. But did you think about, for instance, at those that availability guarantee? This is not only the HCI, but this is when we take a look at the portfolio. And this is what we were talking about last week as well in the webinar about the Alletra announcement, because with Alletra, it's the next generation, or it has the DNA of Nimble. The 6000, the 9000 has the DNA of Primera. What's the difference between those two platforms? It's all about that availability. So with Nimble and now with Alletra 6000, HPE guarantees those 6 nines of availability. They're almost at 7 nines already because we're testing more and more with InfoSight. We get more and more telemetry data. But today it's still 6 nines availability. Yeah, with Alletra 9000, with Primera, HP is even guaranteeing 100% of availability. Well, if we're going to take a look at those competitive solutions, if they want to share these numbers, of course, but if we're going to take a look, definitely with VxRail, it will be a discussion about availability, because they have things like FTT, failures to tolerate, 1, 2, 3. You have to make a choice. They can be high available, but then there's a trade-off on performance and vice versa. So yes, they can, but there are a lot of asterisks over there that you have to take into account. While with the Nimble DHCI solution, there's no trade-off. You don't have to make a choice. HPE is guaranteeing you that availability, not only with DHCI, also with the traditional Nimble platform, right? Also with InfoSight, um, um, there's that artificial intelligence. And now I know as well that VxRail is getting started with Cloud IQ, which comes from their EMC storage platform. And now they have a really cool dashboard with Cloud IQ, but they're just looking, they call it a monitoring tool with AI on top of it, but they're still looking only on their local platform. And they will say that, hey, there's a disk broken. Hey, there's a fan that is doing funny things. Hey, you have to update this or you have to update that. But that's from your environment. InfoSight, and if you want to have all the details, hey, we have another webinar, the recording is out there, of what is InfoSight. InfoSight is not only looking at your environment, but InfoSight is looking really around the world on all the sites, all those 10,000s of Nimbles and 10,000s of 3PARs and Primeras out there. And so all that telemetry data from all those platforms is being sent to that InfoSight database. And so this is global learning. Global learning means that you're not only learning from your environment, but from all the environments. And so the whole idea is, and this is where I make an analogy with, for instance, GPS or wayfinding. Yeah, they have a GPS, it is good, but it's not connected to the outside, and you know a traditional GPS, you want to go from point A to B, or you're going to use applications like Waze or Google Maps, which are connected to the outside. We're going to learn as well from the mistakes, from the errors from other people. And this is why that whitelisting and blacklisting that is being used within InfoSight to say, hey, you can update to that version, or no, you cannot update to that version. This is just specifically because the fact that HPE InfoSight knows that he knows your environment, but he knows as well all those other environments with all the experiences. When I give demos, on my Nimble, to give you a practical idea, there is a new Nimble operating system available, 5.3, 6.0 will come out one day as well soon. Nevertheless, there is Nimble OS 5.3. I have a Nimble array. I know myself. I say, I want this. And in real life, I would download Nimble OS 5.3 and I would install it. But now InfoSight told me, Bart, I'm sorry, you cannot do it. And that download button is grayed out. And it's telling me, it's predicting, it's preventing disruptions because I have a specific environment with direct attach. So I have a Synergy bladed enclosure with direct attach fiber channel to my Nimble array. And apparently, HPE has seen some issues with this specific setup somewhere else. I don't know where. But HPE tells me now, InfoSight tells me, Bart, don't update yet to 5.3, that specific version, because it's not supported yet. And this is making my life easy because I know in the past I was downloading all the latest updates because I want to have the latest stuff on my environment. And sometimes, yeah, I had problems, stability problems, performance challenges, weird things happening. Well, InfoSight makes my life better. And this is here. And this is something that definitely our friends at Dell EMC, they don't have. They don't have it with VxRail. They don't have it with any other platform today. Even that they say, yeah, we have Cloud IQ and we have artificial intelligence. Well, show me your artificial intelligence. Where do you get the information? Well, they don't have it. Of course, they have other features. They will talk about zero RPO and RTO. They have sync replication. They can do sync and async replication. They need recover point for that. Recover point is a license that you need to pay for. Well, now, yeah, they will give you some licenses for free. Yeah, per node that you buy, you will get a few licenses. But believe me, it's not enough for all your VMs, so you will have to buy additional licenses. While Look, you don't have to believe me, Look just confirmed that everything is included. So if you want sync or async replication, you have one now. Next year, you have a second data center. All the licenses, all the features are integrated, right? So yes, they have a lot of things we have better. Also, when you're gonna take a look at the minimum configuration. In the slide deck before that we talked, minimum configuration is one Nimble array. It can be a small one, 2040, 6080 with just a little capacity, and then you can scale it out really easily online. And we can start with 2 compute nodes, so 2 servers. You saw the models, AMD, Intel, 2 socket, 4 socket, but the 2 node will give you high availability. Well, also with VxRail, forget it. The minimum will be 3 nodes, but then you have FTT1. If there are 2 disks that fail, at that moment you can restore your data already. So you have to go to FTT2, then you need 5 nodes. So there again, yeah, they can give you high availability and so on and so on. But there are a lot of asterisks, a lot of things that you have to take into account. We guarantee this with just a 2 node entry HA configuration. Yeah. And then, of course, yeah, it is very scalable. Also, some things about scale compute capacity independently, since it's an HCI environment. So you're buying servers with storage. You want more storage, you have to buy servers. You want more servers, yeah, at the end, they will put some capacity in there as well to guarantee the performance. So you have less scalability, flexibility. By the way, challenge them as well with high mixing all flash and hybrid storage solutions. Challenge them with the sub-millisecond latency. So really the high performance. When we're going to talk about performance, it's not about IOPS, because they can deliver thousands, 10,000s of IOPS. No, challenge them also with the latency. Well, these are not numbers that you will see, which are things that we will see that we can guarantee with a DHCI solution. Also, when we're going to talk,
if I can add something that one on latency,
yes,
because
look.
that's even an important one.
Mm-hmm,
Latency, yes, and they will tell we have very low latency, but you need to challenge them on write latency, not on read, because read will be fast. They have local
mm-hmm,
data that go very fast. But write is another story. And
mm-hmm.
it's not bad, but they need to go over the network to have their redundancy, and that's taking time.
Yeah, their network is oh so important. And as soon as you're talking about all flash, multiple nodes, you will have to go directly to 25 gigabit networking and so on. While 25 gigabit is supported in Nimble and in DHCI, but it's not mandatory to guarantee the highest performance and the lowest latency. It's not mandatory. It's a nice to have. It's just to show that you're ready for the future, but it's not mandatory. While with all those other network-based hyperconverged solutions, that network component is a very important one indeed. Mhm. Another nice feature is about efficiency. Efficiency of writing your data. So you have the high availability of your data and the efficiency of your data. So also go take a look there about deduplication and compression. Yes, they do dedupe and compression, but it's not inline. It's not always on. You have to enable it. And then when you have to enable it, there's a lot of asterisks that you need to follow and that you need to comply to. There will be a performance impact. They do deduplication and compression for specific workloads. In an HPE solution, it's no discussion. It's there automatically inline dedupe, so it's a more efficient platform as well. If you want guarantees about the data reduction, yeah, they will need to go to other platforms like data domain and so on. If we go further about efficiency, about the installation, about the deployment, about the upgrades, the customer experience as well, well, it's thanks to InfoSight. One very nice feature, what I like, what's very powerful in Nimble is that the support. Okay, so you have level 1, level 2, level 3 support. Well, with Nimble, actually, there is no level 1 and level 2 support. You go directly to level 3, and most of the time it's level 3 that will call you before you know that there is a problem, because that's thanks to InfoSight. Well, also there, the experience is good. I don't say that the experience is bad, but they have that tier to 1, 2, 3 support as well. So it will be always a bigger challenge also about the insights. It is Dell, it is EMC. They still own or they don't own VMware. It's a funny story about who owns who, and now it's split off again. But nevertheless, they have all the hardware and software, but we have more insights across all those stacks. Yeah. Um, so that's a really funny story um, that you can use against them as well. And also take a look at data in place upgrades. So in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, when you want to do upgrades to a new platform, how easy that it will be. Yeah, because we have proven already with the Nimble generations in the past, we have that 10-year program where we can guarantee you for the upcoming 10 years that you don't have to do all those forklift upgrades and so on. So a very good story there. And then finally, as well, when we're going to talk about the consumption model, you heard about GreenLake probably. Also, we had a webinar, we had a session with more details about GreenLake for those customers who wants to, pay as a service, right? Well, at that moment, also Nimble DHI is of course available as well within the GreenLake program for those customers who wants to go away from the CapEx towards an OpEx consumption model as well. Okay. And no, GreenLake is not leasing because everyone is doing leasing. But that's another discussion outside of this presentation. Just call us, send us an email, or take a look at the recording of, when was it, a few months ago, that we did on the GreenLake. No, GreenLake is not a leasing. Okay, it goes much further than just leasing your hardware. Okay, so also there, we give you more possibilities as well on the consumption model of how you're going to use, how you're going to pay, how you're going to consume Nimble DHCI. Something more to add, Luke, or we move on to the next one?
I think it was quite complete.
Okay, perfect. Well, another one on the market, we're not going to say anything bad about Nutanix. Nutanix is a really cool, very good hyper-converged solution. Definitely when you're running it on ProLiant servers, because yes, you can run Nutanix on almost any kind of hardware, but they were so desperate that at the end they said, yeah, we want Nutanix on um, ProLiant servers. And so, yeah, it is already there since 1.5 year, almost a year, something like that. So it's the DX platform that is available to run Nutanix on ProLiant. No, it's not bad. But again, it's a hyper-converged solution, and you will see the same things about its compute with built-in storage. So again, when we're gonna talk about guaranteed availability, at least I didn't see any numbers out there that they can prove availability. Also about disruptions, about the predictions, the AI in there. So the info side, yeah, they have info side, they have artificial intelligence, but again, it's a limited experience on their own environment. They're not sharing. It's not a connected environment where we're gonna give you that Waze or Google Maps experience, that we're gonna give you those predictions and prevent disruptions based on experiences from other deployments as well. Yeah, they can do the replications and so on. Now they don't have built-in backup. We can do this with the snapshotting integration. We have VSS integration on application level and so on. So they don't do this either. They just give you that, yeah, hyper-converged storage replication. But there again, just like with VxRail, they have that resiliency factor again. The minimum is 3 nodes. But if you want equivalent high availability of resiliency of data, you will need 5 nodes, just like with VxRail, while with HPE, the minimum is 2 nodes. Ask them as well about scalability. Yes, you can scale Nutanix. It is endlessly scalable. I think it's the only one that says they have an unlimited number of nodes about scalability. What they don't say, of course, is that you have to buy additional licenses. Yes, so the bigger you go, the more licenses that you have to pay. So definitely there, the software component, the price of the software component is definitely higher than the hardware that you're buying, because Nutanix, face it, it's a software company. This is where they make the money. It's a software company. And also, like I said, the same here, it is nodes with storage interconnected across the network. Ask them about sub-millisecond latency for your application performance. Yeah, they can deliver a lot of IOPS. They're gonna put a lot of SSDs in their nodes. They have all flash configurations. So like Luc mentioned, that the read is very good because they have data locality, but challenge them about writing, because writing, they want high availability. They have that resiliency factor of 2 or higher. Well, at that moment, they have to write across the network. There's always a penalty on the performance there as well. And then finally as well, same picture about additional features like inline deduplication, always on. It's post-processed. Yeah, so you have to put in the data full, and then in post-process they will deduplicate it. So there's a penalty again on the performance. So it has an impact on that efficiency. They don't deliver guarantees. Also to set up, it's rather easy. It's a traditional cluster. It's basic installation, it's okay. But once that you want, for instance, if you want stretched clusters, if you want multiple resiliency, if you want multiple workloads with multiple volumes, no go. By the way, they have their own file system where you're going to put all your virtual machines in there. Remember that picture where we showed you that you can add iSCSI and Fiber Channel inside your Nimble array and you can connect other workloads, other servers. Forget it here. It's not possible. Okay, it's for virtualization. Now, of course, they have that flexibility, yes, with that OPEX consumption model, but that's thanks to GreenLake. Okay, because Nutanix is not offering that, but know that you can have Nutanix consumption based. But that's through HPE GreenLake. So again, there are some yeses here. There are back some no's here. For instance, you got to work with the hardware vendors because Nutanix is not selling as such the hardware. Now, of course, they say that they have single vendor support, so you can call them if they have a hardware problem, but nevertheless, Nutanix will escalate it to HPE. So it's not Nutanix that will change the SSD or the hard disk or the power supply in your ProLiant server. So nevertheless, you will have back again that multiple layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 support, and then even with a second one behind it because they have to escalate it towards HPE or vice versa. Unless you're gonna pay it, unless you're gonna put it in GreenLake, because of course at that moment, yeah, GreenLake is taking care of everything hardware and software. But then you're in that other consumption model, of course. Okay. Well, like I said, this is just to give you an idea, questions that you need to ask when you're into competition with one of those platforms, where I'm not saying that they're bad, but you have a more complete story with HPE Nimble and definitely DHCI, because now you have that link, you have that hyper-converged experience. Everything is managed from within vCenter. We're not pushing you another platform. For instance, Nutanix has a really cool platform. Yeah, it's really easy to use, but you need at the end you have multiple other user interfaces that you get used to. While with Nimble DHCI, by the way, it is vCenter. Everything is done from within vCenter, and now with Alletra, it's even moving towards a cloud console experience. So this announcement about the letter is just the first step. There is much more coming towards that cloud console. Yeah. And by the way, that cloud console is the step, has a link, by the way, with GreenLake. So it will be one unified experience. If you have or if you don't have GreenLake, the experience at the end, in a few years from now, I am sure that everyone will have that same experience with HPE. Now, I think a very important one, we're almost at the end of our presentation. We got to the story. I hope that you understand indeed the messaging that we have that school full flexibility, scalability, much more than the others on the market to any customer that might have those requirements. Now, the cool thing is, and this is also why I have a Nimble array in my home lab, in my demo environment, because for me, the most powerful thing is to show it. Okay. Now, I could give a demo, but nevertheless, what do we see? We just see vCenter, where I see my storage and where I can do upgrades. Now, this is me giving that demo. It's so much more efficient that you're going to do it yourself just to prove how easy it is. So we're going to send out the presentation. We're going to send out the links. So know that there is a link for HPE partners. And there's even a page on DHCI where there is a demo for end customers. So you're gonna show, you go to your customer and you say, look how cool this product is. By the way, I'm not doing it. You're gonna do it. You can challenge your customer just to go to that landing page and learn about the experience of DHCI. Okay. I tested it, by the way, yesterday evening with my daughter of 14. She said, this looks easy because I understand these steps. I don't know anything about storage and application and virtualization, but as far as I can see, I understand these steps. And by the way, just to give you an idea, so we're going to share the links with you, but normally now you should see my web browser. So by the way, so this is the link. So if you go to the hp.com website, you go to storage and then Nimble Storage DHCI test drive. So you will see all the things that we discussed about protection, about extending that business critical application without any trade-offs that you have to make. You don't have to make a choice between mission critical and business critical and hyper converged and containers and so on, because everything can run in here. You want Oracle with optimization of your licenses, just do it. We just cannot say just do it because that's a marketing term from another company, but I say here, just do it. Yeah, don't think about it, just do it, right? And so what you need to do here is just click on this button, launch your test drive. And when you go in there, you will see that there are two types. So there's an 8-minute demo. So that's just a video. So when you click on there, it will open up a video and just show that video. But if you say, no, 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 but videos, they can be manipulated, and no, no, that's for the CEO, CIO, CFO, not so technical person. But the technical person, you just click that launch your test drive. There will be a pop-up. And in that pop-up window, you will just get vCenter. And then it's a guided. You can even unlock the guided so that you have to find that yourself, but because it's so easy, and you're gonna add a node in the cluster, you're gonna grow the capacity, you're gonna deploy VMs, you're gonna protect the VMs, you're gonna take a look at everything. So I'm not gonna do the demo because it's oh so easy that you can do it yourself. So we're gonna give you the links. We're gonna challenge you, guys, do the demo. If you have any questions or if it's so complex, well, call us back. I will come over for free to you to show it to you, but I'm quite sure that it will work because it's that experience that you can share. You with your colleagues within the company, but also with your customers, know that the information is there. So you're going to show that user experience, you're going to show the best practices, you're going to see the life cycle maintenance with that one-click update process. We're going to see about the scalability when you're going to add hosts, when you're going to add VMs on there. And know that there's even more information. Know that there are videos. So all the links we're going to share with you. And by the way, also when you go to infosite.hpe.com, when you go in there, and I can show that by the way. So if I go back to my web browser, so I have here my info site of my environment. Well, if you go to info site and you go to the resources section, well, know as well that there's much more information as well about DHCI. So there is a sizing tool, for instance, that is very easy to use. Just tell me, how many CPUs or how many vCPUs, how many VMs, how many memory? Do you like Intel or do you like AMD? Yeah. What about the CPUs? Yeah. Do you want HA? Yes or no? And then just click that button, size it, and it will give you a potential configuration. Guys, how easy can it be, even for sizing? When I make a comparison with SimpliVity sizing, I don't say that it's complex, but I need to ask you more questions. There's more intelligence that you need to use to have a SimpliVity, to have an optimized SimpliVity sizing. Here, you can do a DHEI sizing yourself. There are other tools available. If we go to, for instance, the software downloads, you will see that there is as well on DHEI. There's a DHEI toolkit, for instance, that will help you. There's some more Excel sheets in there to help you sizing, asking questions about the networking. I get often questions about the networking. Well, there is a tool in there that will help you to find the right switch of how many ports that you need. Because technically every ProLiant server has a certain amount of a certain number of connections. Also, the Nimble array has a certain number of connections. Well, know that these tools are all available on infosite.hpe.com. So you just have to log on there with your HPE passport. And so all the information is there. Okay. So, and if you cannot find it in 3 slides from now, because we arrive at the end of the presentation, you will see our phone number, you will see our email address. You can contact us. We can escalate it to the HPE experts to look at his colleagues. So we're there to help you. Now, look, what do you think about the summary, a call to action?
Yes, let me go over this one. And this is one actually that we also used for our internal salespeople, so for our own sales. And actually, it's an important one. And that's what we mean is what first a summary. Yeah. So when we are talking about the HCI, it's quite easy. It's an HCI solution. You have the experience of an HCI solution, but we have the flexibility, we have the scalability that you don't have with an HCI solution. Use that for your customer. Yeah. Second one, and I got a real good question, what does it cost? There are no additional fees for a HCI solution. It's just like you're buying Nimble and storage and ProLine systems. And that's a very important one because that also makes that our HCI solution is competitive. If you go to see it, this is definitely competitive when you are comparing that to other HCI solutions. Even more, if it's in a single site, its pricing is even lower because we don't need all the overhead that we need to have 2 or 3 copies of our storage on one site. Another important one is the openness of the system. So you can do add additional systems out of your cluster for your Oracle, for an Hyper-V cluster, for whatever you want to use, just add it to your configuration, but you have your centralized storage, keeping that one. And then the last one, which is actually a tip, talk about the HCI and not about Nimble HCI, because what we have seen, if you start with Mr. Customer, we have a Nimble HCI, within 5 minutes, you're on the Nimble array. And then we are going to compare specs from HPE to Dell, to IBM, to who else, other vendor, yeah. But talk about what brings the HCI solution. And yes, it's on Nimble because Nimble is a great storage array. We have the info site, we have the redundancy, we have the 6 nines and all of that. But actually the message for the customer is, Mr. Customer, it's our easiness, it's our simplicity, it's our automation that we bring with the HCI. And yes, it's running on Nimble. And then we have actually a call to action, and this is something that it's changing a bit the conversation you have with your customer. We see customers when they need to replace their storage, that they are talking about the storage. And then we say, okay, Mr. Customer, we have an MSA, we have a Nimble, we have a Primera, and we are going to the specs, and we are explaining all how the storage array is working. I think it's important at that moment that you take one step back. And talking about the customer, Mr. Customer, what are your challenges? How are you managing this? How does your environment look like? Where do you want to be? And you will see if you do that, frequently a DHCI solution is a fit. And if you can do that, then you're changing the game at that moment because you are talking about the DHCI, you are talking about his easiness to manage it. And while the other ones are talking about, they're talking box talk, they're talking about IOs, the specs, the functionalities they have, and they are not talking about the experience you can deliver to the customer with the HCI solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one, yeah, that's an important one. I have seen this myself also, where we're doing updates, and at the end, storage updates, and at the end, we missed it because the customer was looking for simplicity. So it's an important one. And then, and it's also internal that we see frequently. We see it frequently a customer because VMware, they have immense sales. So they are pushing vSAN everywhere. And like Bart is telling, vSAN is a great product, but it's a bit pointed to your VMware stuff. If the customer say, guys, I want to have a vSAN solution, perfect to quote that one with HPE service, no problem at all. But also have the discussion with the customer again, what is your broader environment? And can DHCI be a solution? Because maybe he is isolating his different stacks, different workloads, while we can bring it in one altogether.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can confirm that as this is what I do indeed as well. So I do this, yes. And if you're not sure about this, well, definitely challenge us, call us. So here's the team at Tech Data. The email address, there's a phone number. We have all those experts there. Also, there's one Bart Junges worldwide. You can find me on social media. You can find me everywhere. So please contact me, and then we can escalate it as well towards HPE. Of course, we have a direct line with their experts. So if there's something not clear, please let us know. Contact us for any help. Nevertheless, if it's with DHCI or with Nimble or Aletra or Simplivity, whatever, as long as it's an HPE solution, we will help you with that, right? So there you go. I see one question already popping up in the Q&A. So I want to thank everyone for attending, for your time that your valuable time that you spent with us. There's a recording that will be published on techdataevents.be. The presentation will be sent out. The email address is in there if you have questions afterwards. I want to thank Luc definitely for stopping by, for helping me with this presentation and explaining the real value about DHCI. From now on, I'm gonna think about this. Don't talk about Nimble DHCI, but just talk about DHCI, because I must admit it will make your life easier, because at that moment people say, but hold on, I know Nimble, but by the way, what is DHCI? And it opens the doors to start really showing the value of a DHCI solution. So